Speaking of Donald Trump's administration and those around him, this was refreshing to watch a news person actually, frankly, give an assessment, which is, I mean, let's be honest. Maybe it's some people might say like, oh, it's rude. You shouldn't be honest with someone on TV. Like, that's rude. And I could see that, right? Like, you wouldn't say like, gosh, welcome to the program. You don't look very good. You look like you're tired. Or have you been drinking? Like, you wouldn't, that would be rude.
No, I'm here for 2.0
right? That would be
tax
rude.
cuts.
And so there's a lot of people, I think, who are upset that this British newscaster, Emily Maitlis of the BBC, was rude to Sean Spicer in that she pointed out the fact that he was a horrible human being.
But when Kellyanne Conway, and this is essential, I think, to your 7 months, she was your colleague, when she was trying to help you understand or talk through the crowd numbers, she used the term alternative facts. She used the term alternative facts. She was introducing a second version of the truth. How dangerous was that?
Well, look, I think what Kellyanne was trying to do, and you rightly so, I think she was trying to help me. We went out. There was a 3-day weekend when we were having a tough time getting numbers nailed down and information from government offices because so many of them were closed. They had worked really hard for the inauguration. They weren't around on a 3-day weekend. And so we were calling around, and instead of using we used Metropolitan Police Department numbers that we had gotten as opposed to information from the Department or from the National Park Service. So what Kellyanne was trying to say is we were calling different agencies and different groups. She
didn't say we're calling different agencies, we're trying to get the numbers. She said Sean Spicer used alternative facts.
I know what she said. I'm trying to explain it. We all make mistakes, Emily. And I think one of the things that I talk about in this book, and I know you've read it, is there are things that I absolutely would love to do over, or that I could have done better. I had to do them in front of millions of people, and I wish I could have done a better job.
I get that.
I am not sitting here saying I'm not without fault. I wish I could have done a better job. There were days that were extremely lonely in that job because I screwed up.
And believe me, I sympathise with that.
It was embarrassing.
And I know the place you're coming from. But
well, thank you.
My point is, it became a joke. It became something that defined you. You joked about it when you presented the Emmy Awards. But it wasn't a joke. It was the start of the most corrosive culture. You played with the truth. You led us down a dangerous path. You have corrupted discourse for the entire world by going along with these lies.
With all due, I'm sorry, Emily. That you act as though everything began and ended with that. You're taking no accountability for the many false narratives and false stories that the media perpetrated.
He shouts fake news when he doesn't like something.
But I wrote a book that I think is a fairly strong representation of what happened in the campaign, the transition, in the White House. I take responsibility where I think I've fallen short or I could have done better. But for you to lay that kind of claim and make everything sound like it started and ended with Donald Trump is just absolutely ridiculous.
I guess my question is, you were his press secretary, and I know from what I've read that you care about the freedoms and the institutions and the democracy on which your country was built. And this is the office of president spouting lies or half-truths or knocking down real truths, and you were his agent for those months.
My job, as I lay out in the book, was to be the president's spokesperson and communicate his thoughts and his ideas when he wasn't able to do it or wasn't present. That's my job. My job wasn't to interpret for him. I gave him the best advice and counsel that I could in private. I shared with him what I thought strategy would be. But at the end of the day, he is the president of the United States. And it was his thoughts and his ideas and his feelings that it was my job to communicate them. Whether you like them or not, those were his thoughts and his feelings.
Yes. In other words, there he's going. There he's going like, I had to lie. I had to lie. It wasn't me lying. He was lying through me.
Did Nazis sound as tense and nervous when they said just following orders?
It would be nice to look at some of the.
I mean, literally, seriously.
Probably.
They probably were slightly more proud.
I was going to say, they were like, I was following orders, not like, well, there was things happening and many things were happening and it was my job and it was happening.
Long weekend.
There were many
and
different
we didn't
reports.
have access to people who took vacations. And
That's
we
a
had
falsehood.
no
Some
idea.
people really did think there were Jew work camps. Others were killing. I don't know. It's many factors were happening, but
So
I was
many
following
different-
orders.
So many different things going on.
I just liked
Vacation
Werner's
time.
rockets.
I just like the rockets. Nobody talks about the positive things we did for the Autobahn.
I mean, I would have liked her to have wrapped that up with, okay, so none of it's your fault, but don't you think that you should not be able to trade on it anymore? Like, don't you, like, it's clearly disgusts you and you're keeping yourself at arm's length from it, and because it's so horrible. And don't you think that you don't have a right now to trade on it and attempt to build a career on having done that? Shouldn't you just say, I was forced to do it because that was my job, and now I'm going to walk away and live the life of some type of monk or something to that effect?
Actually, I mean, I'm not a fan of the guy, and I don't know much about him, but I watched part of this HBO documentary. Who's the governor of New Jersey who resigned? And it didn't, I mean, it was some sex scandal, and it was nothing comparable. McGreevey. It was like, well, you know, he became a priest and, like, does service work in jails, and he didn't do anything remotely as bad as Sean Spicer. Like, there is a model.
Oh yeah, there is.
It wasn't just that he came out of the closet. There were corruption probes around him. There was more serious stuff. But
You could do something to. You could do something to, in some way, seek redemption. Do something good for somebody else. But I guess not. He didn't even return to the reunion this year. That son of a bitch.